1st Division Captain Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto calls for a meeting of all the Soul Reaper captains to discuss the Bount threat. Captain Toshiro Hitsugaya is tasked with defeating the Bounts, and Yamamoto gives a standing order to kill all suspected intruders without hesitation. In the Rukongai, the area outside the Soul Reaper fortress of Seirei, the Bounts Jin Kariya and Go Koga defeat the Soul Reapers sent to capture them. Meanwhile, Ichigo Kurosaki and his friends enter the Soul Society, and Yoruichi Shihoin explains that Maki Ichinose, a Soul Reaper under Kariya's command, manipulated Captain Mayuri Kurotsuchi into opening the gate into the Soul Society. Ichigo and his friends begin to search different parts of the Rukongaki for the Bounts. While searching, Rukia Kuchiki is attacked by the Bount Yoshi. Caught without her Zanpakuto, Rukia is quickly overpowered by Yoshi. Meanwhile, Yamamoto is explaining the origins of the Bounts to the assembled captains, and a messenger informs him that Rukia is fighting a Bount. As Rukia is about to receive a fatal blow from Yoshi, Captain Byakuya Kuchiki arrives and attacks her. Following the fight, several buildings in the Seirei explode. Byakuya sends Rukia to the Kuchiki clan's house to recuperate. In the Rukongai, Kariya enters Kusajishi, one of the most crime-ridden parts of Rukongai, and asks the populace to aid him in fighting the Soul Reapers. Ichigo, Uryu Ishida, and Yasutora Chad Sato begin searching for the Bounts again, and Ichigo takes the modified Soul Lirin with him. Elsewhere in a forest in the Rukongai, Byakuya encounters Kariya. Byakuya and Kariya begin their battle, and Kariya reveals his doll Messer, which gives him the ability to control wind. Byakuya uses his Shikai, but Kariya uses a barrier of wind to deflect his attack. Ichigo arrives to assist Byakuya, and after using his Bankai, begins to fight Kariya. With Kariya focused on fighting Ichigo, Byakuya uses his Bankai and manages to penetrate Kariya's wind barrier. However, Kariya heals himself, revealing that in the Soul Society, the Bounts can consume the spirit particles in the air to restore their bodies. In Kusajishi, Koga and Ichinose convince the inhabitants to join them in their revolt in order to create a new Soul Society. Byakuya and Ichigo continue to fight Kariya, who continually regenerates all damage by absorbing spirit particles. However, Byakuya and Ichigo begin to inflict larger injuries on Kariya, not giving him time to recover. Rantau, the Soul Reaper who created the Bounts, arrives and Kariya retreats. As Byakuya leaves, Uryu arrives, and Rantau takes Ichigo and Uryu to her home. When Uryu notes that Rantau is identical to the Bount Yoshinosoma, Rantau reveals that Yoshino's soul was a copy of hers, and that the Bounts were the byproducts of an experiment in which the research team she led tried to create immortal souls. In a forest in the Rukongai, Hitsugaya confronts Ichinose and begins to fight him as Renji Abarai, Rangiku Matsumoto, Ichigo, and Chad arrive. In Kusajishi, Kariya prepares to invade the Seirei. Hitsugaya and Ichinose continue their battle, and Ichinose uses his Shikai, blinding all of those present. As Ichinose is about to attack Chad, his attack is blocked by 11th Division Captain Kenpachi Zaraki. Kenpachi instructs Hitsugaya to take the group and stop Kariya from invading Seirei, and Ichinose, torn between his loyalty to Kariya and desire to avenge his former captain by killing Kenpachi, decides to stay and fight Kenpachi. Kenpachi easily blocks all of Ichinose's attacks, forcing him to use his Zanpakuto to trap him in a sphere of light. Kenpachi removes his eye patch and releases his full power to destroy the sphere. Refusing to surrender, Ichinose attacks Kenpachi a final time, and Kenpachi slices him across the chest, leaving him for dead. With the aid of the Kusajishi inhabitants, Kariya and the other Bounts enter Seirei. As they enter, Kariya kills the Kusajishi inhabitants, claiming that their usefulness has ended. Kariya dispatches the Bounts to eliminate the Soul Reaper captains and heads farther into Seirei. 2nd Division Captain Sui Feng orders her men to attack the Bounts, but the Bount Mabashi uses his doll Ritz to take control of them. When Sui Feng asks for a status report, one of her men controlled by Ritz attacks her with a Bito. The Bito incapacitates Sui Feng with a poison, and Ritz uses the controlled Soul Reapers to cause chaos throughout Sarete by turning them against other Soul Reapers, including 7th Division Captain Sajin Komamura and 9th Division Lieutenant Shuhei Hisagi, who managed to knock many of the infected Soul Reapers unconscious. Meanwhile, Sui Feng attempts to fight Mabashi and hits him once with her Shikai, leaving a mark on his chest. She collapses from the poison, and Mabashi attempts to use Ritz to control her. Sui Feng then quickly strikes Mabashi in the chest to deal a fatal blow, revealing that her Zanpakuto allows her to counteract poisons. Elsewhere, Mayuri confronts the bounced Sawatari. Sawatari attacks Mayuri with his doll Bara and manages to rip Mayuri's left arm off. Mayuri regenerates his arm with his medicine and uses his Zanpakuto to paralyze Bara. Mayuri then stabs Sawatari in the right arm, and Bara manages to overcome the paralysis to retreat with Sawatari into another dimension. Sawatari surfaces in another location in Sarete, and Mayuri appears, revealing that he made a scanner to track the Bount. Sawatari attacks Mayuri with the power of other Soul Reapers that Bara absorbed in previous battles. Mayuri is forced to use his Bankai and kills Sawatari. Elsewhere, Uryu begins to fight the Bount Yoshi. Uryu and Yoshi begin their battle, and Uryu realizes that the Quincy battle accessory he is using does not allow him to properly focus his power. When Uryu is able to properly use the accessory and fire a powerful arrow, Yoshi is able to block it by changing the form of her doll Needer into a fan. She then transforms her doll into a Jian and knocks Uryu to the ground. Meanwhile, Kariya breaks into the Department of Research and Development, searching for a Bount crest called the Jokeisho. Despite the efforts of Chad and Ichigo, Kariya finds the Jokeisho and, after fusing with it, claims he has enough power to destroy Sarete. Uryu and Yoshi continue their battle, and Uryu is able to defeat Yoshi by capitalizing on Yoshi's weakness of not being able to defend and attack at the same time. Meanwhile, Kariya is confronted by Koga, who claims that Kariya is insane for desiring to destroy Sarete. Kariya injures Koga and leaves. As Koga tries to follow Kariya, he is attacked by several Soul Reapers and defeats them, which alerts Hitsugaya to Koga's presence. After defeating several Soul Reapers of the 10th Division, Koga meets Hitsugaya. Koga summons his doll Dalk, who is quickly frozen and shattered by the Shikai of Hitsugaya's Zanpakuto. Koga fuses the remains of Dalk into an axe, and Hitsugaya uses his Bankai in response. Hitsugaya injures Koga repeatedly, forcing him to absorb spirit particles to heal himself, but his body begins to reject the spirit particles. Koga makes a final attack on Hitsugaya, who slashes him, and Koga alludes to a future without war before collapsing. Hitsugaya orders his subordinates to give Koga a proper burial, and 8th Division Lieutenant Nanao Issei informs Yamamoto of the Jokeisho. The following day, Rantau confronts Kariya, and after seeing the Jokeisho, recalls how she hid the Bounce in a cave following their creation. After the Soul Society ordered that the Bounce be destroyed, she saved a Bount child who she realizes is Kariya. Uryu realizes that Rantau is fighting Kariya and heads towards her location as Rantau is hit by one of Kariya's attacks. Kariya recalls the events after the Soul Reaper's attack on the Bounce. After escaping from the Soul Reapers, he fused with his doll when attacked by a Hollow. Desiring to travel to the Soul Society to make peace with their creators, the Bounce attempted to use the Quincy to enter the Soul Society, and were defeated. Kariya organized the remaining Bounce in order to take revenge on the Soul Society. In the present, Uryu arrives and fights Kariya. Rantau uses the Jokeisho's power to stun Kariya, and asks Uryu to kill Kariya. However, Rantau begins to feel pain from the Jokeisho, and Uryu uses his remaining power to save her, which destroys his Quincy battle accessory. As Kariya is about to kill Uryu and Rantau, Ichigo arrives. Ichigo uses his Bankai and begins to fight Kariya. Rantau reveals that there are multiple Jokeisho scattered throughout the Soul Society that will detonate when Kariya uses his Jokeisho, and the Soul Reapers of the 13 Court Guard squads begin to seal all of the Jokeisho. Meanwhile, Ichinose arrives and attacks Ichigo, but turns his sword on Kariya, claiming that he did not join Kariya to watch him destroy the Soul Society. Kariya kills Ichinose and reveals Messer in the form of a sword of wind. Kariya uses the wind Messer to produce electricity and attacks Ichigo with it. Ichigo's inner hollow momentarily takes over his body, but Ichigo regains control of his body, surprising Kariya. Ichigo informs Kariya that he cannot absorb spirit particles to heal himself because Rantau sealed his absorption ability. Ichigo and Kariya engage in a final clash where Kariya is killed. Ichigo concludes that Kariya intended to travel to the Soul Society in order to end his eternal life. Ichigo, Renji, and Rukia return to the Kuchiki house to discuss Kariya's life. Ichigo remarks on how his life was changed when Rukia gave him her powers, Renji recalls when he was promoted to lieutenant of the 6th Division, and Rukia reminisces on the day when she was assigned to the real world. Afterwards, Ichigo and his friends return to the real world. Yoruichi brings Koga, who survived his fight with Hitsugaya, to Rantau's hideout. Koga accepts that the destiny of the bounce is to eventually die out. On the last scene, Ichigo and friends are seen heading to the real world, then a mysterious person is seen entering Karakura town.